how's it going? Welcome back to Gardening in Cold Spring Harbor. For those who have not seen my previous videos or do not know where Zone 7A is, we are in Long Island, New York. Here in Zone 7A, we are still in the middle of winter. We are in the month of February 2023. Today, the temperatures are going to get up to low mid 40s. We are expected to hit roughly 43 degrees Fahrenheit. But today is the time to start planting ranunculus flowers. So here we have something called ranunculus flowers. For those of you who have never heard of these flowers or are not familiar with the name, I just wanted to give you a brief introduction to what these gorgeous flowers are, when is the best time to start growing them, what kind of weather and climate these flowers are, and when these flowers bloom. So while most flowers are summer blooming flowers, and I mean the flowers that we plant from bulbs, corms, or tubers, such as your peonies, your gladiolus, your roses, iris, those we expect to bloom sometime beginning to middle, even late of summer. Flower like ranunculus blooms late spring, early summer. In fact, in zones 7 and below, these are not perennials. These flowers are annuals, and we need to plant them late winter, early spring, so these guys can start blooming end of your spring season into beginning of your summer season. And in fact, these flowers grow and bloom from something called corms, which I'm going to show you later in this video. And they prefer average temperatures of 55 degrees Fahrenheit. And in fact, they do not like temperatures to exceed 70 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit, or they will start to die out. So right now, we're towards the end of winter, which is the perfect time to start sprouting and growing your ranunculus indoors prior to transplanting them in a few weeks to see gorgeous blooms sometime late spring, early summer. So again, for those of us that have never heard of ranunculus flower, they're gorgeous flowers that some people even say resemble roses, but they have very, very thin, almost paper thin petals. Their colors range from pale beige to creams to raspberries to burgundy to beautiful deep banana yellows. I've even seen ranunculus in very, very deep, almost red wine burgundy deep color. So again, this flower likes cooler temperatures. It is not winter hardy by any means. This plant, you start from something called corms, C-O-R-M-S. You start this plant indoors. You have to sprout the corms first, and then you transplant them into your designated area. You can grow ranunculus in pots. You can grow them in your raised garden beds or directly in your soil in your cut flower garden. So these flowers make gorgeous, gorgeous cut flowers. They make beautiful flower arrangements in your bouquets. They have a pretty long vase life. But again, these guys will not produce and bloom flowers sometime middle to late summer, as they do not like, nor do they tolerate temperatures, say above 75 degrees, and that's maybe even pushing it. their average preferred temperatures are in mid 50s, and that's what they like. So these guys here in zone 7A bloom sometime late March, beginning of April, and they will stop blooming and producing flowers, and indeed will start dying out sometime beginning of June for us here in zone 7A, when temperatures will start to go above 75 degrees Fahrenheit. So while most flowers grow from roots, tubers, seeds, these guys grow from something called a corm. Again, it is spelled C-O-R-M-S. And as you could see, it resembles almost like a little spider per se, like spider legs. You could see it is dark, deep brown in color. So the corms come larger and thicker, or smaller and thinner. So these guys are indeed on the smaller side, but that's okay. So they're right now very dry and very brittle, hard to the touch. So we cannot plant them when they are dry and stiff like this. What we have to do is pre-soak these corms for 3 to 4 hours in warmer water. It doesn't have to be hot, but it cannot be cold either. Let's say room temperature would be ideal. You guys, we should never ever exceed 4 hours of pre-soaking, as these corms can get too full, absorb too much water, and the root system could indeed start to rot if you over soak these guys. So 3 hours would be perfect. 4 hours will be the maximum amount of pre-soaking time. As you guys may recall, I ended up purchasing 3 of these bags of the mixed ranunculus flowers. As you could see here, each bag contained 12 of the mixed colored corms. So I opened all of the bags and I placed the corms. Here you go again. Let me show you what they look like. Into the clear dome cover to start the soaking, the pre-soaking process. So I'm gonna use this watering can over here, which I already pre-filled with room temperature water. I'm gonna spread out these corms. Again, you do not need to place them or lay them in any specific shape, manner. You just spread them out a little bit, like so. You do not have to place them in a certain direction. And then what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna pour the water, like so, directly into the dome. And you have to pour just enough to cover the corms to the top. And then again, you time 3 to 4 hours for these guys to pre-soak. Again, what pre-soaking does is it allows these corms, which come dry, as you could see, very hard and sharp actually to the touch, to absorb the water, and for these roots to plump up and to expand. When this happens, these corms will be ready for pre-sprouting process, which will be the next step. And I will show you guys exactly how I do that. So while these guys pre-soak in this clear tray of mine, I will see you guys back in 3 hours. As you can see, guys, I have decided to bring the dome tray with my corms, which are pre-soaking for the next 3 hours inside my home because it is pretty chilly outside today. We are still only in the upper 30s with a high of 43 expected for today. And remember, I poured in room temperature water for these corms to soak and to expand. So I did not want the water to get too cold, too cool. So I'm gonna continue letting these guys soak, but inside where it is much warmer, and the temperature of the water will stay on the warmer side so we can get better results. So again, Ranunculus is a flower which prefers cooler air temperatures. The ideal air temperature for this plant, this flower, is roughly 55 degrees Fahrenheit. So for those of you living in zones 8 through 11, which are the warmer climate zones, you can leave your corms in your pots, your raised garden beds, and in your soil in your gardens in the winter. They could stay safely in the soil and they will come back to bloom for you the following year. However, for those of us living in zones 7, like myself here, I'm in 7A, Long Island, New York, and for zones below zone 7, which are the cooler climate zones, Ranunculus is not a winter hardy plant for our zones. So what do, you might ask, in the winter? You might say, I spent all this time, I spent all this money on the supplies, on the corms. So what do I do with the corms in the winter months? Well, it's actually very simple. You dig them up, you guys. If you label the area where you plant your ranunculus in the spring/summer, if you clearly label exactly where these flowers are, what color of the flowers, then it's very easy to just dig them up. The corms are not bulky, they're not heavy by any means, they're very light in their weight and very easy to dig them up with a small hand shovel. Once you dig them up, you do not need to wash them. You could shake off the dirt slightly and then you store them in a brown paper bag somewhere in your house where it is cooler, roughly 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and dark. So it could be your basement, it could be your garage, it could be your shed by any means. But you do have to keep the paper bag sealed, as it has to stay cool and dark for the ranunculus corms to stay fresh and stay safe for those winter months, you guys. And once the winter comes to an end, what you do is you take out your paper bags. Hopefully you use the marker or a pen or some kind of a label to label exactly what color of the ranunculus corms you placed in which bag. You look at the corms, you make sure that they're still firm and hard to the touch. They still maintain their dark brown color. You look for any signs of mold, any signs of rot. So if you guys feel that your corms are soft or softer or mushy to the touch, of course, if you see any kind of mold or anything growing on them, they automatically get thrown out. But if they're firm, hard to the touch, you do not see any mold, any kind of growth on them, then you start the growing process once again with pre-soaking, pre-sprouting, and planting them for a new growing season, you guys. So here we go, you guys. 3 hours have passed. So this is what I am seeing in my dome with my ranunculus. So they have been pre-soaking in here for the last 3 hours. Look what a difference pre-soaking these corms makes. Look how much bigger and plumper these guys look. They almost look unrecognizable. Here, let me show you the before. Remember the dry, hard corms that we started off with? And look at the corms now, 3 hours later. So the 3 hours are up, you guys. My corms, my ranunculus corms are all done pre-soaking. So let's get started with their next pre-sprouting process, you guys. So here I have my corms, which I just took out all of the water. Again, they have been pre-soaking for the last 3 hours. As you could see, they have expanded in size because they absorbed all that warm water. I have my organic potting mix. Again, this is not a seed starting mix. This is your regular organic potting mix. I have my tray and of course a clear dome cover for my tray. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take some of this organic potting soil and sprinkle a thin layer of this organic soil into my tray. Make sure you get all the corners of your tray. Again, you do not need to fill it up too much. Spread it out in case you got more soil in one area versus the other. Fill up your little holes. Here you go, you guys. Last but not least, this little corner. So next, I'm going to take my corms. So this is the top and this is the bottom. So you would place your corms like so into your tray, and you put them one next to the other, next to the other. You basically evenly place them in rows. So here you go, guys. I have placed all of my corms into my organic potting mix in rows like so, because again, I am not planting different color varieties, so I do not need to separate the corms. I can just place them next to each other. What you do next is you take your organic potting mix and you cover your corms on top with the soil mix. You do not, again, you do not need to place God knows how many inches of soil. Just lightly cover up the corms like so. Make sure you get all of your corms evenly. See, these guys are still peeking out at me. So this tray is all ready, you guys. I have placed all of my corms in rows, just like I just showed you. And I covered the corms with a thin layer of organic potting mix. Now I'm just going to water the soil lightly with regular tap water. No need to fertilize. And I'm going to cover my tray with a clear dome. And I am going to place this tray together with my other trays in my green room indoors for these corms to start pre-sprouting. So this is it, you guys, for my ranunculus flower video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. I hope that I was able to give you some helpful advice and some helpful tips on how to grow these gorgeous, beautiful flowers in your home garden. Again, whether you decide to grow them in flower pots, raised garden beds, or directly in the soil of your garden, you cannot go wrong with these beautiful flowers. So if you like this video, click thumbs up. Please leave your wonderful comments. I will read each one of them and I will respond to each and every one of you guys. And again, don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you will never miss new videos that I will be posting here in the future. And I will see you guys in the new videos. Bye!